the drifting indigo currents of the Carrot Nebula, the planet Valeri shimmered like a wounded gem. Once celebrated as a cradle of culture and song, now it stood quiet Treagle, grieving. The palace of Queen Enzilvara, carved into the mountain, cliffs of Centria echoed with footsteps that held no joy. Her throne room, vast and polished, remained empty except for the low hum of old machines and a single floating image, the frozen smile of her lost daughter, 3 years. That's how long the Queen had waited for a sign. In that time, she had summoned every sensor array, every data drone, every species with tracking skills known to the stars. Nothing, not even a shadow. Today, a stormlight filtered through the stained crystal arches above. Her personal assistant orb hovered quietly at her side. "Your Highness," it said in a soft, synthetic voice, "the Earth Envoy has arrived. He is unusual." Enzilvara didn't move. Her gaze remained fixed on the holographic memory. Unusual how? He requested coffee upon landing, then asked if your gravity was emotionally stable. He is also wearing 2 different socks. The Queen exhaled through her nose, not quite a laugh. "Send him in." Moments later, the chamber doors opened with a low whine, and in walked Theo Blaine, mist-haired, half-tucked shirt, one scuffed boot squeaking slightly. He paused at the edge of the throne's dais, looked around at the towering spires and golden carvings, and raised a hand in an awkward wave. "Hi, so, I think I found something that might belong to you." Behind him, a small figure peeked out from under his coat. Delicate, long-eared, and staring at everything with wide, ancient eyes. She stepped forward slowly, unsure, and then stopped, locking eyes with the Queen. Enzilvara didn't breathe. Her entire body froze, her eyes unblinking. "Ilra." The child tilted her head. There was no recognition. But when the Queen whispered the name again, softer this time, the girl blinked and took a single step closer. Theo cleared his throat, trying to find words. "She landed in my trailer, literally crashed some of my stuff, made the fridge sing. I tried returning her through proper channels, but nobody answered. Then she hacked my toaster with her mind, so I figured this was bigger than me." The orb beeped quietly beside the Queen. Retinal pattern, match, DNA signature, 96.3% royal lineage. She is the heir. The words echoed across the throne room like a stone dropped in a still lake. Enzilvara moved, slowly at first, then faster, until she was kneeling before the child. She reached out, trembling. "Ilra, my star." The girl studied her for a moment, then gently placed a small hand on the Queen's cheek, and the Queen broke. Tears flowed freely, crashing through years of cold silence. She pulled her daughter close, clutching her as if the stars themselves might take her back. Theo stepped back, hands raised. "I'll just give you to a moment." But Ilra turned. She reached for him, gripping his fingers tightly. Enzilvara looked at him through tears. "You brought her back." "I didn't mean to," he admitted. "She kind of stayed." The Queen rose, still holding her child. "Then you will stay too." Theo blinked. "Sorry, what?" "You crossed galaxies, faced what my fleets could not. You are now bound to the House of Enzilvara, by act, by bond, by ancient law." "That sounds a lot like adoption." "It is," the Queen said, smiling faintly. "Or a very formal kidnapping, depending on the century." Theo laughed. He couldn't help it. "Well, I do have experience in both." The Queen turned to her advisors waiting in the shadows. "Prepare a declaration. Let the galaxy know Ra lives. And she was returned not by empires, not by warriors, but by a human who never stopped trying. Theo scratched the back of his neck. Honestly, I was just following the weird noises, and for the first time in over 3 years, the Queen. Oh, Valeri laughed. Outside the throne room, the planet's storm-swept skies began to clear. Far above, satellites flickered to life, relaying the Queen's message across every relay point in the quadrant. The child was home, and with her hope. The news spread faster than light, or at least it felt that way. Within hours, royal beacons blazed across the Valeri system. Starships blinked out of orbit to carry the message. The lost heir had returned. Theo, on the other hand, was trying to figure out how to drink from a gravity-stabilized cup without spilling it all over his new ceremonial robe. "This thing weighs more than my truck," he muttered, shifting under the embroidered silver fabric as he sat beside Ilra on a hovering transport sled. She giggled, clutching a snack that wriggled every time she tried to bite it. She didn't care about formal wear or the fact that nobles were lining up just to glimpse her. She was just happy to sit beside him, chewing noisily and occasionally poking his cheek with a sticky finger. "Does she always do that?" Queen Enzilvara asked from across the platform, observing their interaction with something between amusement and cautious awe. "Only when she's comfortable," Theo replied, wiping purple goo off his jaw. "Or mildly bored." The Queen nodded slowly. "She didn't speak a word to any of us. Not for years, until now." "She hasn't exactly been quiet with me," Theo said, watching Ilra hum to herself while kicking her feet. "She sang to my microwave, and it exploded." "I see." As they glided through the crystalline palace halls, they passed statues of past monarchs, warriors, explorers, scholars, all carved from obsidian and lit from beneath by soft blue clouds. Theo whistled, impressed. "So, does she take the throne now, or is there a ceremony where I mess everything up first?" Enzilvara gave him a sidelong glance. "There is always a ceremony, but first, answers." Theo tensed. He had been expecting this. "I didn't steal her. I found her. She showed up, literally fell out of the sky and landed in my old satellite dish. Knocked out power to half my trailer park." The Queen raised a brow. "You live in a trailer. Technically, it's a modified rover with personality issues. But yeah, and you raised her alone." "I mean, Marvin helped," Theo said, though he's more of a paranoid inventor than a co-parent. "Still, we did what we could. She survived because of you." "No," he said firmly. "She survived because she's Ilra. I just kept up." They entered a circular chamber lined with data crystals. It was quiet, soft humming the only sound. Enzilvara placed a palm on the central pedestal, and a holographic projection bloomed Ilra's face, younger, glowing with laughter. "She vanished during the Exodus Festival," the Queen said, her voice tight. "We were preparing the city for visitors from the outer reach. One moment, she was in the observatory, the next, gone." Theo studied the projection. "So she didn't run away. She was taken." The words dropped like a stone. "By who, we don't know. Our surveillance failed. My own guards failed. I failed." Ilra, unaware of the weight behind the words, began spinning in slow circles beside them, trailing the ends of Theo's robe behind her like a parade float. Theo knelt beside her. "Hey, kiddo, do you remember anything?" She paused, frowned, and made a low musical chirp. Then she touched her temple and pointed upward. "A ship." Theo glanced at the Queen. She's remembering. Ilra pointed again, this time at a symbol in the projection. A spiral within a spiral. Theo felt a chill. I've seen that. On a drone that buzzed my truck. Right before I found her. Enzilvara straightened. Then we may still be in danger. Theo looked at Ilra, who blinked back at him, calm as ever. Well, he said softly, if they want her back, they'll have to come through me. The Queen stared at him. You're not a soldier. I'm not a diplomat either, Theo replied. But I am stubborn. And I don't let go of the people who matter. She said nothing for a long time. Then, finally, we'll need your help. Just one thing, he added. Yes, do I really have to wear this robe? Because I'm starting to chafe. Ilra laughed, and to Theo's surprise, so did the Queen. Outside. The skies of Valeri shimmered with light new stars, kindling above a world ready to hope again. The Queen's inner council chamber was nothing like the grand throne hall. It was darker, circular, its walls lined with pulsing veins of bioluminescent data vines that fed real-time updates into the floor itself. Holograms shimmered like ghosts' fleet movements, sector scans, energy pulses across the rim systems. Theo stood awkwardly in the center, robe bunched beneath his arms, watching the gathered nobles whisper and murmur. He felt like someone's dog had wandered into a high-security meeting and accidentally triggered a nuclear launch. Ilra sat calmly beside him, swinging her legs and occasionally humming to herself. Each time her notes drifted into the air, several of the glowing vines subtly shifted their glow, as if reacting to her voice. She's connected to something, Queen Enzilvara said from her place near the command pedestal. Some resonance. It started after she returned. Theo nodded. Yeah, she used to hum to my toaster. Made it print scrambled eggs. No idea how. The Queen's top advisor, a tall Valeri named Jackson, stepped forward, arms tucked into his ceremonial sleeves. He looked like he hadn't smiled since the last century. With respect, Your Majesty, Jackson said, his voice sharp. This Terran has neither training nor clearance. We cannot allow him to interfere in matters of planetary security. I'm literally just standing here, Theo said, raising a hand. Not interfering. Unless my breath is considered a security threat. Ilra looked up at Jackson and stuck out her tongue. It made a musical ping sound. Several younger attendants giggled. Jackson's face twitched. Enough, the Queen said softly, and the room quieted. Ilra identified the spiral symbol linked to an ancient group called the Obscura Concord. They operate beyond the known sectors. Until now, we believed them extinct. Theo tilted his head. Cool name, very evil sounding. They were not evil, the Queen corrected. They were extreme. Believers in balance through removal. They saw monarchy as dangerous. They erased royal lines across 4 systems. Yikes. Theo muttered. Our records show no Concord activity in over a century, Jackson said stiffly. Why would they resurface now? Because of her, Theo said, nodding at Ilra. Maybe she's more than just royalty. Maybe she's proof that both human and Valeri can exist together. The Queen's eyes narrowed. You think that's why they took her? I think they were afraid of what she could become. A long silence followed. The room seemed to breathe. She's been humming that symbol, Theo added. Not just remembering, it's singing it, like it's inside her. The Queen moved to a data console and tapped a series of glyphs. A projection emerged, slowly spinning, the spiral upon spiral. The crest of the Concord. Ilra immediately turned to it, and began to hum again. The projection pulsed, then the walls pulsed with it. Every light in the chamber dimmed, then flashed in sync with her voice. A low frequency rippled across the council chamber floor. One of the crystal columns cracked, just slightly. Jackson paled. "What is she doing?" "She's not doing anything," Theo said. "She is." The Queen turned slowly. "She's activating something." Ilra stopped humming and smiled. Before anyone could respond, a voice crackled from the orb assistant hovering above them. "Alert, unidentified vessel approaching Valeri orbit. No transponder, trajectory, direct descent." The Queen's expression hardened. On screen, the heir shimmered. A sleek, obsidian black ship appeared, long, needle-like, with no visible windows or ports. "The Concorde." Jackson stepped back. "They're not extinct." Theo swallowed. "And they're not hiding anymore." Ilra reached for Theo's hand, her tiny fingers curling around his. The Queen straightened her shoulders, regal and unshaken. "Prepare. Defenses, secure the heir, and bring the human with her." Theo blinked. "Wait, me? You're the only one she listens to." He glanced down at Ilra, who nodded solemnly. "Well," he muttered, "guess I'm officially in this now." Outside, the skies of Valeri darkened not from storm, but from a shadow long believed buried in time, and in the heart of the palace. An alien child and a human misfit stood at the center of a future that was no longer theirs alone. The obsidian ship drifted above Valeri like a silent dagger. No demands, no comes, no declaration of war, just presence. And that, somehow, felt worse. Theo stood beside Ilra in the Queen's private shield chamber, spherical room suspended in a web of floating crystal nodes. One wrong move, and the chamber could lock down tighter than a Starcore vault. Royal heirs weren't just protected here. They were hidden from history itself, if needed. Ilra, however, was not hiding. She stood in the center of the chamber, watching the alien ship with a calm that made Theo's skin crawl. "She's not afraid," he said quietly. "She can't afford to be," Queen Enzovara replied. "But that doesn't mean she's ready." Theo turned toward her. "Then let her be ready, on her own terms. You've seen what she can do. Her voice activates your own technology. What if it's not just instinct? What if she remembers more than you think?" The Queen studied him. "What are you suggesting?" "Let her show us." A pulse ran through the floor, not from the outside. From Ilra, she had closed her eyes. A single note slipped from her lips, light and high and shimmering like water in sunlight. Every crystal in the room reacted. A glyph glowed on the wall. Then another, and another. They weren't just lighting up. They were forming a message. Theo stepped closer. The pattern was familiar. "That's the same spiral she drew in my truck," he said, "but it's more detailed." Enzolvera reached for one of the glowing symbols. Her hand passed through it, but it left a soft hum behind, like a memory. "Echo, she's activating a record," the Queen murmured. The chamber shimmered. A projection bloomed into the air, images and sound, but not like any standard transmission. It was fractured, like shards of thought woven together. A voice, cold, alien, spoke in a language that shifted with every syllable. Yet Ilra translated it out loud, her childlike voice oddly still. "Experiment complete. Hybrid, viable. Emotional imprint deeper than expected. Retrieval scheduled. Memory lock initiated." Theo's mouth went dry. What experiment? The Queen's face had gone pale. She was taken for a purpose. Not ransom, not harm, study. Ilra's voice continued, translating the fragments as they played. Royal bloodline used. Human traits accelerated. She adapts. She bonds. She learns without instruction. She wasn't just kidnapped, Theo said. She was grown, changed. The Queen was silent. The projection shifted again this time, showing a lab, stark, silver, and cold. A young Ilra floating in a suspended field of light, watching, listening, and in one corner, a screen showing Theo's old trailer, recorded, observed, years of his life. From above he staggered backward. They were watching us the whole time. Ilra looked at him, then reached out and touched his chest. A note rang through the chamber clear. Resonant and full of warmth, the image dissolved. The Queen finally spoke. She chose you out of all possible connections. She bonded to you. Theo shook his head. I didn't do anything special. I gave her grilled cheese and let her rewire my TV. That was enough. Another alert rang through the palace. Come. Unidentified vessel. Has deployed a landing pod. Impact zone less than a kilometer from the palace perimeter. The Queen turned sharply. They're coming for her. Ilra stepped forward, calm as ever. Let them. Theo blinked. Okay, can we just pause a moment? You're 7. I'm technically unarmed, and I'm wearing a robe that keeps turning. Red because I'm nervous. Ilra placed her small hand over his and looked him square in the eyes. They made me, but I chose you. Theo swallowed hard. The Queen stared at them both. Then we will not let them take you. The chamber shimmered. Shields disengaged. Prepare for contact, the Queen ordered. But we faced them on our feet. Together. They stepped into the corridor. Alien Queen, alien child, and the human who accidentally became part of something bigger than he ever imagined. Outside, the Concorde pod hissed open, shadows spilling into light. The end was coming fast, but so was the answer. The Concorde envoys stepped onto Valeri soil like silence made softly tall, robed figures with faces hidden beneath obsidian masks. Their ship hovered above the trees like a watchful god, casting long shadows over the forest canopies and crystalline spires of Centria. Theo stood between Queen Enzilvara and Ilra, sweating in a robe that couldn't decide whether to display lightning bolts or shivering stars. His fingers were clenched, not from fear, but from the deep, biting knowledge that if he let go of the girl beside him, he might never see her again. The lead Concorde figure spoke, his voice like layered echoes wrapped in static. You are in possession of a Concorde asset. Release the hybrid child. The Queen's posture never shifted. She is not an asset. She is my daughter. The figure tilted his head. She is more. She is the bridge, the culmination of our work. She does not belong to any one world. She belongs to herself, Theo said, stepping forward. And right now, she's staying with us. There was a long pause. You are not equipped to guide her, the figure said, turning toward him. You are weak, primitive, limited. Theo exhaled sharply through his nose. And you are the creepiest bunch of librarians I've ever seen. Beside him, Ilra began to hum. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even musical in the usual sense. But every tree in the palace gardens bent slightly toward her. The Queen's crown shimmered, and the Concorde figures flinched. What is that? One of them snapped. Theo's eyes widened. It's her. Ilra took a step forward, her voice rising. The glyphs on the palace walls, lit up again. The symbols of the Concord spirals, fractals, coded memories, raveled as if they had been waiting. The child they thought they created had grown beyond them. She's rewriting their signal, Enzilvara whispered. She's not just remembering, she's overriding. The Concord leader raised a hand. Stop, she will destabilize. Ilra's voice broke into pure light. A pulse swept outward, not destructive, not violent, just real, full of memory, and defiance and hope. One by one, the Concord masks began to glitch, flicker. The robed figures froze, caught in the stream of sound and memory. They trembled, and then vanished, dissolved into harmless data, dispersed by the very song they had programmed into her. Silence fell. Theo was panting. Did she just crash their entire species? Enzilvara placed a hand on his shoulder. No, she freed them, or what was left of them. Ilra turned back to them, cheeks flushed, but steady. Theo knelt in front of her. Hey, he said, his voice hoarse. You okay? She nodded, then pulled something from her Paquita small rubber duck keychain. He blinked. You still have that? Ilra held it out to him. To remember. He took it gently. Kiddo, I could never forget you. The Queen stepped closer. Her gaze warm now, gentler. She has done what none of us could. She's made peace with her creation and chosen her path. And what path is that? Theo asked. Ilra took his hand, then reached for the Queen's. Both worlds. Both hearts. One family. In the days that followed, Valeri was never the same. Ilra was declared heir again this time, not just of a throne, but of a new legacy. A bridge between worlds, proof that humans and Valeri could share more than just trade routes or treaties. They could share stories, songs, memories and each other. Theo, to his dismay, became an ambassador. Official title, human advisor to the House of Unlikely Miracles. He wore it with the kind of confusion usually reserved for accidental Nobel Prize winners, in his quarters bigger than his whole home back on Earth. He placed the little rubber duck on the shelf beside a glowing star map Ilra had drawn for him, and every night he sat by the window, looking up at the stars, still sarcastic, still unqualified, but no longer alone, because across galaxies, one small voice had called to him, and he had answered. He didn't save the universe, just one child, and that had been enough.